Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Live with Mel. This episode is brought to you by Yellow Cab Company of DC. If you're looking to avoid rideshare prices, then check out the Yellow Cab Company of DC when you are in the nation's capital. Last year, when Chris Cuomo was fired, it came to a shock for many people. Now, many people do believe that the firing of Chris Cuomo was related to his involvement with helping his brother deal with his sexual assault allegations. Now, his brother, Andrew Cuomo, the former governor of New York, were facing several allegations about sexual misconduct. And with Andrew Cuomo being a journalist, many believe that he had used his sources, he used information that he shouldn't have in order to help his brother. Now, when this happened, Chris originally came out and said that he was going to help his brother deal with the situation. But with more and more reports coming out, many people believe that Chris essentially overstepped his bounds. Now, when this whole incident came out, CNN did suspend Chris Cuomo. When CNN did suspend Chris Cuomo, he did ask network executives if they wanted him to resign. And they essentially told him that no, after this essentially blows over, you may be able to return to the network. Now, we have to remember that Chris Cuomo was CNN's shining star. And while the CNN wanted to investigate if Chris's involvement with his brother's case crossed the line, they did eventually want him to come back. However, just hours after he was suspended, CNN received a letter which essentially accused Chris Cuomo of sexual assault and sexual misconduct. Now, with this letter coming in, and then with the scandal surrounding Andrew, CNN ultimately made the decision to fire Chris. Now, again, this was several months ago, but now more information is coming out about the involvement, about the sexual assault, and about what happened and why Chris Cuomo was fired from CNN. While him helping his brother did have a part to play with his firing, essentially the scandal surrounding Chris himself is what led to his ultimate departure from CNN. Now, Chris Cuomo was in a position where, again, he could have came back if this allegation didn't happen. Now, this alleged attack happened back in 2011. And essentially what is being said, and this was released by the New York Times, what essentially is being said is that Chris Cuomo was essentially trying to help a temporary ABC News personnel. Now, he had allegedly invited her to have lunch in his office. And the purpose of the lunch was to discuss how she could change from temporary to a permanent member of ABC. Now, when she did come in for lunch, allegedly, she saw that there was no food. Now, again, she was going to Chris Cuomo's office because, again, for lunch, to eat, and then to discuss how to become a full-time employee because, again, she was temporary. When she arrived, according to the letter, allegedly, Chris Cuomo tried to have sex with her. He tried to ask her for sex, and she denied his advances. Once she denied his advances, she alleges that he then sexually assaulted her. And that is the allegation that's coming out at the time. Now, again, this happened back in 2011. And while the woman is staying anonymous at the moment, colleagues of her have stated that between 2011 and 2021, she did make comments about the assault, about the attack, about what happened. Now, there's not a lot of information surrounding it, but this is the information that we know. We do know that she is accusing him of attacking her and propositioning her for sex. Now, again, this does look bad in so many ways. We see it looks bad, number one, because since Chris Cuomo was a superstar at CNN, he was using his power in order to draw her in to talk about a promotion when in all actuality, he had nothing to say about getting her full-time employment, and it was just a guise to get her into the office so they could have sex. She's saying she denied him having sex, and the next thing that happened was the attack. Now, things aren't looking good for the Cuomo brothers at this point because now they're both being accused of sexual misconduct and sexual assault. And now looking back at it, we see why CNN had fired Chris Cuomo. Again, many people believe that it was solely because of his involvement with his brother's sexual misconduct cases going on, but now we're seeing that it's possibly having to do with the fact that he allegedly sexually attacked a temp. Now, this all happened back in December, the information is coming out, but now more information is being released around the alleged assault. Now, Katz, the lawyer for the lady who's remaining anonymous, has came out and said this. After years without any substantive communication from Mr. Cuomo whatsoever, Ms. Doe suspected he was concerned about her coming forward publicly with allegations and wanted to use the proposed segment as an opportunity to test the waters and discouraged her from going on record about his sexual misconduct. Now, what she's saying about this is a few years later, after this alleged sexual attack happened, the Me Too movement started gaining steam. The Me Too movement was everywhere. And Chris Cuomo reached out to the anonymous woman to see if she wanted to do a segment. Now, according to the lady's lawyer, the lady who's remaining anonymous at this point, he reached out to her not necessarily to do a segment, but to cover his own bases. He was looking to do a segment with her in order to ensure that she did not come out and speak about the alleged assault to the public. Now, again, for anyone who has been a victim of any type of assault, hearing from a victim can be very traumatic in that sense, but hearing from an alleged attacker about the type of attack that attacker did to you is something that can be very detrimental to your well-being, to your psyche. But again, it was also Chris Cuomo covering his bases. Now, again, he wanted to run a segment on the firm that she currently worked at. He wanted to run a segment about Me Too to cover his bases. Now, the Me Too movement was something that garnished a lot of attention. The Me Too movement was something that opened the door for women and men as well who had been sexually assaulted to come out and say, we're putting a stop to this. And during that time, we saw that many people, many prominent men in TV, in movies, were essentially using sexual assault as a way to conduct business. That was their everyday thing. And we've seen over the past couple of years that many men in the entertainment industry, in the news industry, on TV, in movies, in Hollywood, in broadcasting, have been brought down because of these allegations. And we're seeing that this was the way that business was conducted. This was an everyday thing. And we've seen it across different networks, in different production companies, with different stars, all in the entertainment industry. And while this did happen decades ago, because again, a decade ago, this alleged assault happened back in 2011. It is now 2022, but the letter from the lawyer came out to CNN at the end of 2021. So we're seeing that victim still wants their accused attackers to be held accountable. Now, again, many people believe this is why Chris Cuomo was fired. This was the final nail in the coffin. Now, we are still waiting on more information. Again, the letter was sent to CNN right after Chris Cuomo was suspended. It may seem as though the victim, the alleged victim, felt comfortable that now that Chris Cuomo wasn't protected by the network, that she could go ahead and tell her side of the story, that she could go ahead and say what happened. But in between that time, in between 2011 and 2021, Chris Cuomo was a star at CNN and he could do no wrong. So releasing the information at that time probably would not have gone anywhere. Now, in November, President Jeff Zucker told Cuomo they were suspending him and that there was a big possibility that he could come back because he was going to resign. After the incident with his brother, he was talking to executives, he was talking to presidents to see whether they wanted him to resign because of the case. But again, Chris Cuomo had the highest rating show on CNN. He was a star of the network. Everyone looked to him, and it seemed as though once Andrew Cuomo stepped out of the spotlight, that the heat would be off of Chris Cuomo. However, when the alleged sexual assault information came out, when CNN did receive, when they did receive the letter from Jane Doe's lawyer, they essentially said that there was just too much drama surrounding Chris Cuomo and that they were going to fire him. So the sexual assault that happened many years prior was the final nail in the coffin. And then let's go ahead and go to the comments. Joanna says, shaking my head, all this is political. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but man, oh man, you know they wanted to get their hands on Chris Cuomo. Maybe they'll take him back on CNN just like they took Jeffrey Tobin back. I guess when you had a leader of the free country get away with sexual assault, it gives all these individuals a free pass. Now, it doesn't look as though they're going to give Chris Cuomo a free pass. You have to understand that CNN is going through many changes at the moment. The former president of CNN, Jeff Zucker, actually resigned on February 2nd because of his romantic relationship with an executive as well. So if Jeff Zucker was still at CNN, there probably could have been a possibility of Chris Cuomo returning to CNN. But now that CNN is going through leadership changes, now that CNN is making changes, it looks as though Chris Cuomo's time on the network is going to be gone indefinitely. Again, prior to the accusation of sexual misconduct, they were going to bring Chris Cuomo back. CNN had plans. They told him not to resign. They said there was a possibility that he could come back. But the final nail in the coffin for Chris Cuomo was this alleged sexual assault, this alleged sexual misconduct. So at this time, we basically have to wait and see what comes of this, if charges are going to be pressed, if there's going to be a civil suit. But right now, the information is starting to slowly come out. Again, the New York Times did the report on this. They did the report on this information because many people did believe that it was the incident with his brother, Andrew, and his involvement with Andrew and how he helped Andrew that caused him to be fired. It did cause his suspension, but the firing was because of this assault that happened, because of this alleged assault that happened in his office. So I will keep you updated about everything that's going on with this case, with this alleged accusation, and I will continue to let you know what happens. My name is Mel. I come live every single Monday through Wednesday to bring you guys current events and let you know what's happening across the globe and right here in this great nation as well. So thank you so much for tuning in, whether you are streaming this on the various social media sites, or if you're catching this on the NSL TV station on Roku or the NSL TV app or website. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see everyone next week. I hope everyone has a great day. And don't forget to check out our other shows on the NSL TV station. Cool Rides with Greg and Jeremy just came out, so go ahead and check that episode out. My name is Mel. I'll see everyone next week. Have a great day, everyone.